The second step in updating sales orders is to generate the sales order picking list. When you run a picking list update, it is either manually, voluntarily, or mandatory, depending on the item model group that the item is attached to for each item that you are selling. If the picking requirement parameter is selected on the item model group, the sales order line must have the status of picked before you can continue to the packing slip update for the line. In addition to a picking list registration might be required. When the picking route status is set to activated in Accounts Receivable Parameters on the Updates tab, you can perform the picking list registration after you post the picking list to register the physical pick of the sales order and have tighter control of where the sales order is in the order process. Let's switch over to AX and generate the picking list registration and picking list in AX. I'll start by going to Accounts Receivable and verifying the parameter. So in Accounts Receivable, underneath Setup, and then Accounts Receivable Parameters, we'll go to the Updates tab and verify the picking route status. Here you can see it's set to activated, which means that the two-step picking process can be used. If this is set to completed, the picking list registration is performed automatically when the picking list is generated, and therefore 2 steps are not required. I'll close the parameters and we'll make a new sales order and pick it. I'll do this in Sales and Marketing, under Common, and then All Sales Orders. Once the sales order form opens, I'll click the New Sales Order button to create a new order, and then select the customer account to be used. I'll click OK, and then I'll add some items to the order. I'll update the quantity to the quantity required for my order and enter the price. When I'm ready, I can confirm the order, but because confirming the sales order is not a mandatory step, I'm going to go directly to picking and packing this order. This is done on the Pick and Pack tab in the Action pane. I'll save the order, and then the buttons will become enabled. I'll click Picking List in the Generate group. Here you can see the details of the order. By default, the quantity is set to all. If I didn't want to post the entire order, I could choose to do a Deliver Now quantity, which would use the quantities that I typed into the Deliver Now field. For this example, I'll stick with all. If I go to the Lines tab, I can override the quantities of the items to be picked, and I can optionally choose to print the picking list. I'll go ahead and do that and set the printer setup to print the picking list to my screen. Here you can see it set to my screen, and so I click OK, and then I'll click OK again. It's asking me if I'm sure I want to print this to my screen, and I click Yes to continue. Now that the picking list is generated, I can view the details on the screen. You can see here it prints the details of the items, and there's a field over on the far right-hand side where the warehouse worker could use this to write in the quantity that are being picked and a line for the warehouse worker to sign for the receipt. We'll close this down, and I'll show you how to review the picking list that's been posted. This can be done in the Journals group of the Action pane. Here you can review and reprint the picking list and look at the lines. Next, I'll show you how to generate the picking list registration. This is done on the same Pick and Pack tab. You'll notice that the picking list button is now grayed out because the entire order has been picked. So I'll perform the picking list registration, which is the 2-step picking process. This document is typically used to indicate that the items have now been picked. In this screen, you can see that the handling status is activated, and if we collapse this and go down to the lines of the picking list registration, you can see each of the items and the quantity that are to be picked. If required, you can use the Functions button to split cancel, unpick, or cancel a picking line. I'm going to go ahead and activate and update this picking list registration by using the Updates button and then selecting to update all. In this case, you can see that 2 cannot be picked because there are not any available in the site and warehouse combination that I have chosen. Therefore, the update has been canceled. Next, I'll talk you through the process for posting a packing slip for a sales order.